The Florida Gators are playing in the national championship game tonight against the Houston Cougars, and baby, we got you covered on Locked on Gators.
You are Locked on Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a crossover edition of Locked on Cougs and Locked on Gators. I'm one of your hosts, Parker Ainsworth, joined by Brandon Olsen. And Brandon, it feels nice to talk to you going to a national championship. Doesn't it feel nice?
It feels good, Parker. I'm not going to lie. You texted me on Monday, and I was just like, oh, man, I need it to happen. I'm looking forward to this. It feels good to be the unequivocal best teams in the country, right?
Unequivocal. And it took crazy difficult paths just to get here. Today's show is brought to you by our buddies over at TurboTax, and we'll get into all of that stuff later because it is April at this point. But Brandon, we're playing basketball in April. This is it's been since '84 for Houston since they were playing on a Monday night game. Just wild kind of thing. Florida's a little bit closer to now, though.
Yeah, I was 12 last time Florida did it in 2007. It was the last time they were playing for this championship, but I was 12 years old. So it's great to be an adult and experience greatness. I feel like that's the only way to put it, really. This is just greatness.
We're going to talk about predictions in the game and that stuff later, and I got a lot of questions for you on Florida. But Brandon, this game is currently at FanDuel, as we're recording this, at a 1.5-point spread. Am I crazy for thinking that feels a little disrespectful of what we just saw last night? I mean, we're recording on Sunday, spoiler. For last night, come on.
I mean, hey, I don't know what to say about it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had someone ask me with about 10 minutes left in the Duke and Houston game. They're like, "Hey, what's the spread gonna be on Monday?" And I was like, "Probably Duke -2.5." So I thought that's where we were going. Honestly, I don't know. I feel like this is just a game where I don't think many people expected it. You, of course, did call it last Monday. I don't think many people expected this to be the matchup. I think a lot of people either thought it would be Auburn Duke or Florida Duke or Houston Auburn. I feel like every matchup I heard people talk about, none of it ended with Florida versus Houston for the national championship. So I think Vegas is kind of just like, I don't know, just SEC gets the favorite. I don't know if that's what the plan was, but I don't think anybody was prepared for it.
No. So Houston, I guess, would be pulling off an upset in this one, theoretically and technically. Not, wouldn't be the first time this season. Had been many times. Wouldn't be the first time this season. I think Houston does it. I think they got to play full 40 minutes. Brandon, what do Gators fans not get about that? What's the problem with that?
I think that there is I'm going to go off on a little tangent here, so I'm just going to be a fair warning here. I think that there is a gross misrepresentation of Houston, and I think that there is just a horrible evaluation by fans about Houston because they see that, Houston's offense doesn't score a ton of points, and they just go, Houston's a great defensive team, but their offense isn't that good. And it's just an asinine thing to say. It makes no sense. I don't think that Florida fans realize, one, height's overrated, right? Like people talk about, how's Houston going to keep up with Duke's height? Well, 7'2" dude on Duke didn't get a single rebound. So I think they kept up with it fine. People talk about, Houston's offense isn't that good. They're really, really slow. Sure. But the dudes shoot 40% from three, 40. I think we said it yesterday, or I said it yesterday when we went live with Locked On College Basketball. I couldn't make that on layups on an open court. They're shooting 40% from three games. It's crazy. It's just ridiculous. And I think that people really just look at the low scoring games and think, it's because Houston can't do it offensively. When really it's just their style of play is just really slow. They're really good at shooting the three. Despite not doing it a lot. And they're really good at getting offensive rebounds, taking care of the ball. They play a great brand of basketball. It's just, I think people just look at the score total, look at the box score, look at the size and go, oh yeah, Houston shouldn't be here. This is, as you said earlier, This is 2 of the top 10 teams of all time on KenPom competing here. I don't give a damn about anything else. These are 2 elite teams, and I do think that a lot of Florida Gators fans are overlooking Houston right now.
Well, and I feel like Houston's been overlooked for a lot of things you said. And frankly, you pointed that out in your own show when I was listening last week is what prompted me to text you last Monday, because I was like, at least Brandon's watching the games. The truth is they see scores like Houston scores 60 here, scores 65 there, and they think that's just so little for these elite college basketball teams. And fair enough that Florida is kind of the other end of that extreme. They see crazy high scores and think about the bad defense when truthfully it's a crazy fast pace, right? I think that back and forth is fair, but I feel like Houston's got a shot here because the grinded out defense. You're playing 2 days after a crazy challenging game in the Final Four for both teams. Houston's catching a lot of headlines for the crazy comeback, but that first Final Four game was wild. Just crazy.
I was fetal positioned up that whole game. I was just like, oh my God, this is crazy. I was going through it. I'm not going to lie.
Crazy. It's a wild night of basketball. And I guess I would think that Houston can pull the upset here because I almost feel like playing 2 days after that plays into their hands, right? Obviously, Houston relies on the 3, and you hope to have fresher legs than you would 2 days after that. Playing in a football stadium doesn't help shooting either. But I just feel like it's going to be kind of a tough, gritty game. These college basketball games can get ugly really fast. And Houston seems really comfortable in that. Am I crazy for thinking that's an advantage? You're the Florida guy.
I don't think you're crazy for it. Again, I think a lot of Florida Gators fans are very much overlooking Houston. Houston, I think the difference is that they're fine playing a messy game if it's a slower, messy game. Whereas Florida's fine playing a messy game if it's an up-tempo messy game. And so I feel like both teams are like, hey, if we're going to get messy, let's get messy. Let's have a rock fight right here. But we're going to push the pace on one side and the other side's going to try to slow it down. And it's about, really dictating. And one thing that I think is concerning for Florida Gators side of things is that for a while in that game against Auburn, Florida let Auburn dictate the pace. Auburn was slowing it down. They were getting Janai Broom the ball in the post. They were working down in the half court. And Florida was kind of countering by going, okay, then we'll work at that same pace. And it wasn't until halftime that Florida really started to push it. And they made the game messy against Auburn. Auburn had, I think it was 2 turnovers in the first half, 12 in the second. Florida was like, hey, let's get messy then. But we're going to get messy and shoot threes, and we're going to be really good at it. So I don't think that you're crazy at all for thinking that, hey, after 2 cardiac games, we're going to play a messy game here, that it could favor Houston. Absolutely. Because again, Houston defensively is just, one of the best we've seen in a very long time in all of college basketball.
It's a pair of really fantastic teams to watch. I've gotten to watch Florida just a handful of times. In a second, I'm going to ask you about what Florida does well that is going to give Houston problems. And then also if you're going to tell people what to watch about Walter Clayton, if they haven't yet, what to watch. But first, word from folks that broke the show of the day.
This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting and worrying and wondering some more. Now, Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today, by the way. Deadline coming up. Just saying, an expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. Now, you can also go and get live updates, only available with TurboTax Live full service. Real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees.
Back with Locked On Cougs and Locked On Gators crossover. And Brandon, I said there that I wanted to ask you about what Florida can bring that gives Houston that trouble, because full disclosure, I'm really confident in Houston. They haven't been down at the end of regulation since November 9th. They haven't lost by double digits, I believe, this season. They're really tremendous. You got to play all 40 minutes and go on and on about cliches and metaphors. But Florida's also top 10 all time in KenPom. So they play really fast, and I'm trying to figure out other ways to articulate it. You follow them every night. What else would you say about it?
I think part of it is that Florida plays really fast. They're going to go up tempo, get their threes. I'm very interested to see how Houston's going to try to stop Walter Clayton Jr. because Auburn threw everything at that man, and he just did not care. And I do think that, again, people, they're overlooking Houston. What they did, Houston's lost 4 games this year by a total of, I think it's 13 points. A total in 4 losses, 13 points is ridiculous. And so I do think that, Houston, they're going to have a better chance of slowing down Walt, but also Walt probably doesn't need to score 34 in a game where the winning team is probably going to be in the 70s somewhere. And so I don't think you need 34. I just think you need some kind of efficiency. One thing I'm really looking forward to is while Houston shoots 40% from 3, teams against Florida shoot about 29.5% from 3. And if you're not hitting those threes, things change when you're facing a team that is hitting those threes. And so I think looking at that, Houston's a team that hasn't been great from 2. I feel like there were some stretches during the Duke game, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like there were some stretches during the Duke game where Houston settled for middies more than they probably should have. I think part of that was not wanting to test, 7-2 Malawak, which I understand that. But if you're going to settle for middies when Florida's taking threes, 3 is more than 2, right? That's analytics, baby. 3 is more than 2. And so I think that it's going to be really tough. So if you're not hitting 3s, you're settling for 2s. I think that's the best way for Florida to really win this game is, hey, we've got to do what we do offensively and keep doing what we do defensively. Again, Florida, 6th in the nation in 3-point percentage allowed, 22nd in 2-point percentage allowed. Like Florida's defense is wildly overlooked right now, the same way, or not to the extent, I think, but in a similar way that Houston's offense is overlooked.
Well, and I think it's, like I said in the thing, the same idea that like you've got Houston's offense being overlooked because the scores are low. I think people are looking at Florida as like the scores are high, and I don't think that's an oversimplification. But you see them win games, but giving up 81 to Missouri, it's like, yeah, but the game was a bajillion possessions long. They shot poorly, right? I want to ask about this Walter Clayton Jr. kid because I continue to be thoroughly impressed. 4 or 5 year kid start off at Iona. Now he's at Florida. He's from the state of Florida. It's a good story in all those regards. I don't know what his draft projection is as a 6'2" and change veteran guard in the NBA and all that. His 34 points on Saturday night were as impressive as points I've seen in a long time. I think the stat I saw was like he had 30 in the Elite 8 and 34 in the Final Four, and that's first time that's happened.
Larry Bird.
I was about to say Bobby Hurley was the name I heard mentioned, which is just bananas because he's a bad coach now. I guess my thought is like, is there a game where he's shown weakness, and what was it? Really more because I'm interested. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I mean, he's just someone who, offensively, he's going to get his, right? He's one of those guys where you just say, hey, like, yep, he's going to get his, but as far as a game where just he's been bad, he hasn't had one of those really since early SEC play. I think his biggest issues have been he's had quite a few games with turnovers, but as far as scoring, like he's gonna get his. He's gonna get his as long as he's putting up shots. Against Maryland, he didn't score a ton, but he wasn't shooting much against Maryland. He had, I think it was like 10 shot attempts the entire game. So it was just, hey, the team did it without him. It was fine. It's not like he went, 1 for 7 from the field or anything like that. He just didn't shoot much. And so I think that when you look at him offensively, he's going to get his shots. He shoots so many shots that I want to scream about, and they go in. Like his heave from the corner against Chad Baker-Mazara, he put it up, and I was like, what the hell are you doing? And then he drained it anyway. Against Texas Tech, he had to get the ball, dribble out to the 3-point line, turn around, chuck it up. And he did that. And I was like, oh, well, you're going to lose if you're shooting shots like that. Drained it. He's got the sliders all the way up. I don't know what it is. He's just a freak. He'll be a late first, early second round pick at this point. Because like you mentioned, 22-year-old, 6'2" guard, not a great defender, not a horrible defender, just relatively unengaged at times, where during the tournament, he's really tightened that up. But I do think that he's just someone that he's become a little bit of America's sweetheart with his threes. He's getting the Steph Curry comps, which
crazy.
I'm not even gonna touch that, man. I'm not comparing anybody to the greatest shooter of all time. I promise you. As much as I love him, Walt's probably I said probably. Walter Clayton Jr. is the greatest Florida Gator of all time. Okay, he's the only first-team All-American. He's the dude.
You said that I went back and listened to the rest of the Locked On College Basketball that I was not on because I had to get off because we were in the car, and I don't guess I realized even Corey Brewer was not a first-team. Back-to-back national champions without a first team. Makes me a little bit better about the fact that Houston's LJ Cryer got third team. That's the most anyone Houston's got right now. But being really honest, I was like, okay, so this is not uncommon. So Clayton Jr. is obviously incredible. You mentioned that Houston shot a lot of middies and kind of not analytically sound jump shots against Florida against Duke. And Florida offers an interesting similar deal. I think it's exactly like you said, where Houston was avoiding Malawak inside by, if he stayed down low, shooting a midi. If he stepped out, they'd drop it off to somebody, right? What Florida's got a lot of, we keep talking about this figurative word size, but a lot of size between Chinyulu and Condon and a bunch of guys. The rotations, if I watch a game from January, it's different than the rotation is now. It's different than the rotation was in February. What's going on with the big guys down there? What do they do so well?
I think it's partially just, again, their size, their length. Chinyulu's 6'10" right now. Alex Condon's 6'11", but they both got just insanely long arms. It's just ridiculous to watch them play. Thomas Houck off the bench. Micah Hanlogden's 7'1", 7'2". They've just got such good size up front. They contest shots. One thing that's been driving me absolutely freaking crazy about them lately is that since it started the SEC tournament, they've been a relatively bad team when it comes to defensive rebounding. That's the thing that I've harped on a lot lately. At the start of or during the regular season, they were allowing about a 25% offensive rebounding percentage. That climbed to during the tournament. It's about 30% that they're allowing now. It's a pretty significant jump. The first half against Auburn, 35%. They've had some things where, as great as they are size-wise, Alex Condon's the best passing big man in the country. I don't think anyone's really going to challenge you on that. I mean, you watch him play, and he makes Jokic passes. He's not Jokic, but he makes Jokic passes.
No, he's really good. I did that there. He's really good. Really, really good.
Yeah. He's a freaky passer there, but they've got their flaws too. I love them, but I just can't look at a team like Houston where it's hey, well, we shoot threes well, we don't turn the ball over, and we force turnovers, and we get offensive rebounds. And I'm like, well, that's not a great matchup for Florida. I know that, a lot of people, myself included, mean, hey, Florida and Duke are the two best teams in the country, but I don't think people realize how good Houston is, or stylistically that it's not an awesome matchup for Florida.
Well, and I want to talk through how you think this game's going to go in a second. And I think we're actually both relatively high on the other's team, which makes this an interesting crossover. It's not the trash talk that I had with JJ earlier in the week or anything like that.
I respect talent.
But I want to have a respectful talk of what's going to happen on Monday, because I think we both think our team's going to win, and we'll get into why in just 1 second.
You ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all of my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth, right? You like money? I like money. I like making money. By the way, Florida Gators money line. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year.
Parker Ainsworth, Brandon Olsen, Locked On Cougs, Locked On Gators crossover. Brandon, you're going to say Florida's going to win. I'm going to say Houston's going to win. And I don't think that's just because that's a script of some sort. I think we both have reasons for that. Why does Florida win this game?
Because they're the best team in the country.
You've been saying that since the first bracket breakdown. And we had, fun fact for the folks at home, the 4-1 seeds had a group text. and it was called Blue Bloods. And most of us are not like Houston winning would be a nice, like, move in that direction. I've been arguing they're moving in that direction. A lot more new bloods than blue bloods, though, for sure. And Brandon's been saying they're the best team in the country since before the bracket came out.
Nobody has proven me wrong to this point. Since I started saying it, nobody's proven me wrong. Like,
so what makes them that? What makes them that? Yeah. How do they win? Talk me through this. It can't just be they're good. Okay, but Houston's good, right?
Yeah, no, Houston's a very good team. I just think that Florida, offensively, they've got multiple players that can create, multiple players that can score genuinely. They have Alex Condon, who, while he's been playing relatively poorly for the most part, I think Auburn was the worst game of his career. I think that was just an embarrassing performance, if we're going to be completely honest about it. But he can shoot, he can pass, he usually can defend. I think that just this team can do it all, and they are the deepest team in the country. I mean, no team, and they play 8 guys, so it's not even like it's like, oh yeah, they're going to throw 12 at you. But they have a bunch of guys that can run. They're used to an up-tempo style of game. They're not going to get fatigued from it. They're not going to lose. They're not going to mentally. They're not going to falter. They're not going to do anything like that. I think that this is a team that's been battle-tested, the best team from the best conference. Just saying, Auburn fans can disagree, but Florida put belt to ass twice, and one of the times was in Auburn, so they can disagree all they want. But the Florida Gators, I think, are the best team in the country. I've been saying that. I think roster-wise, I think that's also what it is that Todd Golden, very analytically oriented coach. He wants to run up tempo, take a lot of threes, around the rim twos. You don't want middies. You want to go crash the offensive boards. I think that this team is built to play the style of basketball that Todd Golden wants to play at a very high level. And I think that's one of the things that just makes them so damn good right now.
So I hear a lot of what you're saying, and I will say that I think you'll know very quickly who's controlling the pace in this game, and not that neither can play at the other's pace, but one team's going to be more comfortable at it, right? I think Walter Clayton Jr. is the kind of guy that makes his name in March and probably makes a lot of money for the summertime. I want to push back on one thing, and I think it's really something that you alluded to in the Locked On College Basketball show, as well as kind of hinting at here, and it's that both teams are very veteran. Walter Clayton Jr., I think, is a name that's going to get tied to this March for a long, long time. And we kind of always have that player tied to the team or whatever. And I guess I wonder if, what if this year's March story is the coach? Kelvin Sampson has been doing this for 40 years. It's the redemption tour of sorts. He's rebuilding a program, rebuilding his story, rebuilding his career after the stuff that happened in Indiana is not even against the rules now, right? And Golden is a good coach, is going to be a great coach. I don't mean to say this is going to hurt him long term. Sampson is the veteran. The players are both very veteran here. Sampson's a lot more of the veteran between these two guys. And I think that played out in the Duke game as well. There were moments that Sampson looked like the guy that's been there before and John Shire didn't. Now, I don't think that they need to fire him like the Duke fans walking out the stadium were saying that's a little ridiculous. But just things like breaking a press where in those clutch moments when you don't see it coming, where things I think Sampson's got a little bit of an edge on. I think that's my big deal, is that Sampson's got that kind of an edge, whereas, Golden is a great coach with a good team and a well-built team for him, for what he's doing right now. But he is the younger guy, and, it's his first time dipping his toes in the water. Florida was really great when you and I were younger. It's been a minute. Am I crazy for thinking that Kelvin Sampson the X factor? You have a different X factor that I'm missing.
For me, I think my X factor is Rueben Chinyulu. Honestly, I think that he's playing like Florida's best big man right now. I think that he does a lot of things that you look at the box score and it's like he had 5.6 rebounds. What are you talking? He's a dude. He's a monster. Like, you look at the Auburn game in the second half, and he played the best half of basketball he's played in his entire life in that second half. I thought that he was just phenomenal there. And also, talking a lot of trash during it, and I loved it. If you guys can't tell, I'm very much a Florida fan in the sense of I'm going to be arrogant. We're going to have fun with it. But I think Rueben Chinyulu, he changed the course of that game. He did. He had multiple possessions. He shut down at a couple steals in the second half. Was just physical with Janai Broom, physical with Dylan Cardwell. he's the guy where I think you've got to show up defensively. You've got to show up on the glass. And if you do that, it's going to be real tough. And I'm not even harping on, Houston's a small team. You're an idiot if that's your big selling point.
No, but
there's no other way to put it. You're an idiot if that's your selling point.
Chinyulu to me does strike me. I say this about a lot of teams that Houston's played close games with as like a guy Sampson won on his own team. And there's a lot of respect for that kind of a big man out there. Chinyulu's listed at 6'10", 260. If you told me he was more like 6'9.5", but 275, I'd believe you. And I guess my inverse of that would be, I think Milos Uzan, you can't have two bad games in a row at this point in the season, right? I think that goes without saying, but he, because of foul trouble, wasn't very impactful in the Final Four game. He wins them games like Purdue, games like Arizona. He's got the toughest defensive matchup, and I think that him having a good rebounding game, not in terms of the stat, but in terms of the like metaphorical rebounding game coming back from a down Final Four game would be a big, big deal. Brandon, we're getting out of here. You have all kinds of coverage on all kinds of social medias and stuff like that. You're also going to be live after the game, I take it. Where are you going to be the most active between now and tip-off?
I will be very active on Twitter. You can find me at WNS_Brandon. And then we're going live the second this game ends. The second this game ends, if I'm alive. We'll see. If I'm still alive by the end of it, then we're going live immediately after.
We're going to do the same at Locked On Cougs. Locked On Cougs and Locked On Gators, both proud members of the Locked On Podcast Network. That means your team every day. The Gator sign fits a lot better on the screen here, Brandon.
Is it disrespectful to do it down like Texas?
We won't sue you like they will. You're the SEC. Okay. Better get ready for that.
If it'll hurt some feelings, I'll throw it. Is that it, or is it this one? Which finger is it?
It's the ring finger.
Okay, it's the ring finger. Then I'll throw it down just like that if it's disrespectful because I'm here for it.